Welcome to the second Freebie Friday of 2025. I'm Jessica with Stay Cozy Creative Co., and my goal is to share free and simple tutorials every Friday this year. Today we're going to be hand crocheting a scarf, and to get started we're going to make a slip knot. You want your loop to be about 2 inches wide, and then we're going to chain 3. If you're new to hand crochet, feel free to pause or rewind this video at any time. I try to go slow, but it might still be too quick if you're just learning. When you're done, your foundation chain should have 4 total loops, so I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you want your scarf to be wider than this, feel free to do more loops, but I liked this size for mine. Now we're going to chain 2. So there's 1 loop and then a second loop. And then now we're going to do 4 single crochet stitches back across. So we're going to do our first stitch into that last loop of the foundation chain. So you pull 1 loop through and then pull a loop through both of those, and that's 1 single crochet. Now our next stitch is going to go into the next loop of that foundation chain, and then the next one into that next loop, and then our final one will go in that last loop. So you should have 4 single crochet stitches across your foundation chain. And you want to make sure that you're just going into that top part of the foundation chain loop, so you're working kind of across the top part of it. And now for the remainder of the scarf, we're actually going to do the same exact thing over and over again. So we have this 1 loop sticking out, and we're going to chain 1. And then we're going to do our 4 single crochets back across. So make sure you start that first stitch into that last loop of the last row, and you'll work your way back across the other way. The main thing to keep in mind while you're working is consistency. So you want all of your loops to be about the same size, and I like to make sure that that underneath loop that I'm pulling through is kind of tight, not super tight like where it's pulling on your stitching, but you do want it to be snug so that you don't have just like a lot of excess yarn hanging out the backside of your scarf. So here we're finishing row 2, and now I'm going to do our chain 1 and then work back the other way. And as you can see, I worked with my right hand on my row 1, and then I worked with my left hand on row 2, and now I'm back to my right hand on row 3. So you can work this way if it feels comfortable to you. It felt a little uncomfortable to me because I'm used to mostly working with my right hand. So I'll show you what it looks like if you want to flip your scarf around so that you're always using your dominant hand. I often get told by people who are left-handed that they've had a hard time learning how to crochet. So I'm hopeful that showing you a few different ways and techniques of doing this will help click in your brain and with your hands, whichever dominant hand you have. So you can see here I've flipped my scarf around so that I can use my right hand to work back the other way. So you're free to do it however feels comfortable to you. I'm gonna keep working for another couple rows, and then I'll skip ahead to show you how to connect your second skein of yarn when you're ready. Okay, so I'm coming to the end of my first skein of yarn, and this is how much of my scarf I have made so far, and it's time to connect our second skein. I was lucky and ended up right on the end of a row. If you aren't as lucky, you're welcome to either pull your loops out till you are at the end of the row, or you can connect your yarn in the center. So I'm just going to do a simple square knot where you basically fold one loop over the other and then take the other tail and fold it over and make a knot. And so with the chenille yarn, you can pull it tight, but you don't want to pull fast because it can snap. So once you have it snug, just trim off those little tails and then you keep going. So I am just going to leave that kind of knot on the end and then keep working the same way I had before. Another way that you can connect your yarn is actually with a lighter. So you just kind of singe both ends of yarn, and then while they're on fire, you push them together and it cinches like the center part of the yarn together. So that's a really secure way to do it, but I just didn't have a lighter with me, and I usually do knots anyway. I'm going to keep working in the same way, and then I'm about to skip ahead to show you how we finish off our scarf. So I ended up using just a little bit less than 2 skeins, but you're welcome to use the full skein. So here I'm counting my rows, and my goal is to have 40 total, and that was including my foundation chain and then also my last binding off row. So I'm doing 40 total, but you're welcome to make your scarf as short or as long as you want. So here I'm to my last row, and we're going to finish off our scarf just like any other row. So I'm just going to work my way all the way across by doing the 4 single crochet stitches, and then I will show you how I tie off the end. It's time to grab your scissors, and we're going to trim our yarn. You only need, I don't know, maybe like 5 inches of yarn, and you're going to tuck that tail into that last loop that's sticking out and then pull it snug up against the side of your scarf. Then we're going to flip over to the back side of our scarf, and we're just going to weave in this end. So it's not a true science, but you basically just kind of weave up into the backside of a loop and then down into the backside of another loop, and keep doing this all the way across until you're done. So if you have too much yarn, you can just trim that tail a little bit if you need to too, and just tuck it in so that you don't see it sticking out. And now we're going to weave in the tail from the beginning of our scarf. So it already has a knot there from the slip knot that we made at the beginning. So I'm just going to loop this under the side so that it holds that kind of knot into the scarf. And then I'm going to weave up and down and hide that tail. And now our scarf is complete. I love it so much, especially the chunkiness of this hand crochet stitch. It's perfect for these cold winters here in Iowa, and I hope that you love it so much. Just look at that texture. If you've enjoyed this project, please subscribe to my channel for more tips and tricks and free tutorials on both hand crochet and hand knitting. If you need yarn, you can find that on my website. And again, I'm Jessica with Stay Cozy Creative Co. And until next time, stay cozy, creative, and kind.